good morning, Solveig.
Good morning, Jeff.
You doing good?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing good. So
Good.
let me do a little introduction of me, and then we can do an introduction of you, and then we can talk about this great topic of gratitude and thankfulness, okay?
Yeah.
So I am Geoff Welch, and I live in Fairbanks, Alaska, and I am a business owner. I own a printing company, and I also do consulting work for businesses and individuals who want to do great work. And part of that, part of where my um, desire to do that work comes from is this idea that gratitude really matters and that we gain a lot from thankfulness. So I'm very excited to be talking with you this morning about that. And I know from earlier conversations I've had with you that this is a topic that we both really feel strongly about. So why don't you share a little bit about your background and then we'll talk.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jeff. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to have a conversation about this.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm excited.
Um, I'm Solveig Pedersen, and I live in Anchorage, Alaska. I teach communication classes at the university here, and I also own my own business as a life coach with soul and heart coaching. And I have found gratitude to be so important, not only in my own life, but in the work that I do with others.
Hmm.
And so just having a little bit of time to sit and geek out about
Yeah,
gratitude makes me really excited.
yeah. No, I
So
agree.
that's what brings me to this conversation today is being excited to talk with you and really respecting your opinions and being excited to hear what we can come up with together here.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I've known you sort of peripherally for a long time,
Yeah.
but haven't known you well until fairly recently. We've had more opportunities to intersect, and yeah, I think there are a couple of topics like this that we really both sort of, as you said, geek out on,
Yeah.
and I think it'll be fun to talk about that. So
Yeah.
so let me tell a little bit about my story then, about where how I stopped sucking at gratitude, and maybe that will kind of give us
I
a
like
place to start. So a couple years ago, my wife was doing a class at our church about gratitude, and it was a women's group class, and so I clearly wasn't invited. But she would come home every night and she'd talk about it, and she was really excited about some of the things they were talking about and some of the things that she was kind of realizing through this class. And as I listened to her, I really realized that I was terrible at expressing gratitude. I was
mm,
thankful for a lot of things, and I think that's different than just being polite, than just being someone who says please and thank you, that
sure.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But to really think about what you're thankful for and the people who've made a difference for you, and then be willing to take that next step to actually say something or do something about it.
Mm,
Um, I felt like I was a person who was thankful, but I didn't do a lot of saying that I was thankful. And what occurred to me was that it doesn't really count if you don't say it. Like, I
mm,
think that there's kind of two levels to that. Like, I think that expressing it does something for you as well, but the other person doesn't ever get the benefit of knowing how thankful you were, and that's pretty important. That's a major part of it.
yeah.
So I own a printing company, like I said before, and we started. I just had the idea that I wanted to start writing thank you cards, and so I made up a bunch of my own thank you cards, and my business partner and I thought it would be a cool idea to give them away. So
Mm.
we started a program called Thanks Fairbanks. So sorry, all you people in Anchorage. Now,
We might need one, huh? We
there's
might.
great. Yeah, you were grandfathered in, but I think we could probably work out an arrangement for some Anchorage people. But thanks, Alaska. But we started a program called Thanks Fairbanks, where we give away free thank you cards to anyone who wants to sign up. We give three free thank you cards away, and then every 3 months we send three more. It was
Cool.
our way of sort of putting legs on what we thought about gratitude and saying, how can we actually do something about this? And so in 2011, I probably sent two or three thank you cards at like Christmas, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And in 2012, I sent like 250, maybe 300 thank you cards because I
Whoa.
decided I would send one every day. And that
You
I'm
said one every day?
business day, pretty much every business day throughout the year. There were a couple catch-up days where you'd get harried and you'd not make the right choice.
Yeah.
But it's amazing what you can do when you do one small thing a day. And it was never like I didn't ever sit down and write 50 thank you cards, but I just every day sort of purposefully made a choice about somebody I wanted to express some gratitude to. And
So
I'd
beautiful.
like to think that it mattered to the people, but selfishly, it was like, it mattered to me. Like it was really, really good for me to do that every day, every business day, every working day, to sit down and do that, take 5 minutes and just do that. So I'm curious to hear from you, like why gratitude matters to you, why you think that it's an important activity that we not just sort of think about, but that we actually do gratitude. Like I don't know what the conjugation is there, but you know what I mean.
I totally know what you mean. Well, okay, I want to respond to that, but I also just want to say that first of all, having been a recipient of one of your thank you cards, it does make a difference, and it is just such a lovely thing. And as you're talking about this, first of all, I'm realizing that I had seen the Thanks Fairbanks THX FBX, right?
Yeah.
I had seen that before we had reconnected and thought, what that's so cool. And I didn't really know what it was, but that mysterious intrigue about it made it even more interesting. So I love being able to hear the vision behind that. Yeah. And I also feel, as I'm listening to you, really, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I'm realizing in my life how I could send more thank you cards. So I'm trying to think of the right word that's not coming to me, but that I really appreciate you sharing that, just because it makes me think about, I had bought some thank you cards recently and I've been meaning to send more of them, but just, I think I'm a lot better in person at saying thank you, but the actual act of sending a card is so beautiful and I love it and I'm inspired by it. So,
but that's good though, because I'm lame in person. So, but that's great, because I mean there are multiple avenues to get where you need to go here. I mean, you don't have to send thank you cards. You can actually say thank you, right? So
totally. And cards are so nice, and it's sort of becoming a lost art to send handwritten thank you cards. So I think it's beautiful. So I just wanted to
thank you.
Honor that in what you've done. Well, I come at it, of course, from a little bit of a different approach. Not because I think that. I would say of myself that I'm quick to say thank you in person, and I think that that's something that probably comes pretty easily to me in terms of appreciating in a moment and verbalizing it.
Yeah. I can confirm that. You're good at that, and it matters. Yeah.
About with gratitude though is maybe more conceptually. That's why I said, maybe being gratitude instead of doing gratitude times. Because
I'm writing that down.
Well, I'm thinking of a couple of things. One is just the idea of, and I think I'm going to come back to this, but that if we are someone who is lucky enough in our lives to have a lot of good things that have happened to us, to me, sort of being that gratitude is passing that on in doing good works or being grateful for what we have, and then sharing that in terms of that I'm thinking of it in terms of almost privilege right now, that having a lot to be grateful for means that I want to share and be generous with others. So there's that piece of it. But I was also thinking about gratitude for me almost as a spiritual practice. I particularly think of last spring. I was feeling really frustrated about some things in my life, and almost to the point where I was like, feeling pretty, and you probably know this about me, I'm a pretty positive person. So feeling like cranky and kind of full about things, and just in a pretty negative headspace. And I was having a conversation with someone, and she mentioned keeping a gratitude journal and how it had made a big difference to her, and just happened to describe it, and I thought, well, maybe I should keep a gratitude journal. Like, I feel like I'm being grateful for things in my life, but maybe I'm not recognizing really everything I could be grateful for. And so shortly thereafter, I started keeping a journal. Every evening I would try to write at least 5 things that I was grateful for. And I mean, seriously, I feel like that was a miracle for me. Having a few moments to think each day about what made me grateful
Yeah.
was such a beautiful, what there was to be grateful for in my life was such a beautiful internal shift for me.
Yeah.
And I actually brought for you, just to show you, then this summer I was visiting my sister and I saw this
Nice.
bookstore. And I mean, not that you need, not that one needs a
Yeah.
journal that says gratitude on it, but I bought it and I actually really love it. And it has little quotes about being
Oh,
grateful.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so that's been kind of nice for me to just have this space where now I write things that I'm grateful
Yeah.
for. Keep
Yeah.
it by my bed. So it's a reminder in the evenings, unless I'm exhausted, to write something down.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that probably it's a good spark for, I mean, sort of like you said, being aware of how to express gratitude in the moment, of not needing to wait. So for me, I'm thinking about it sort of I'm not in the moment. I'm writing a card in the morning. I'm sort of considering life as it sits, and that kind of thing. But keeping a journal like that, I would imagine, sort of keeps that idea of gratitude in the forefront of your mind all the time, and I would imagine you're seeing things throughout your day that you recognize to be grateful for, even though you're not sitting in front of your journal at that moment. You're aware of those things. Yeah.
it shifted my mindset, and even though I'm a pretty positive person, in that time I was just having a tough time with life,
Yeah.
and so having something where every night I was like, yes, I'm great. I mean, I've actually have taken times where I haven't done it because things have been just going well in my life, and I don't even feel like I need it in the same way.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a self-care thing and a spiritual practice for me that like if things are feeling cruddy in my life, I start thinking about what can I be grateful for. And I use that with clients as well in coaching, that I noticed that sort of shift of, yes, there's some really frustrating things going on right now, but what are the things I can be grateful for? Almost always when we start listing the things that we can actually be grateful for, it's like, it's no question. We start looking at ourselves being, I mean, granted, sometimes we feel cranky anyway, but it's like, what's going on? I need to reframe my perspective a little bit here.
Well, and that's why I think there really is this sort of amazing dual benefit to this idea of expressing gratitude, because you're doing yourself this pretty remarkable favor, I think, in terms of forcing yourself to look at the things that you are thankful for instead of just all the junk that we sometimes focus on. By like, you're a more positive person than I am, but I am this weird dichotomy of like, I'm incredibly optimistic and incredibly cynical at the same time. And it's like sometimes those two things are at war with each other, and it's like on a given day I may be more optimistic and the next day I may be more cynical, But focusing on what there is to be thankful for, it like breaks up that cynicism. It's a vulnerable thing to say, I appreciate what you did for me. Thank you for doing something that I couldn't do for myself, or extending me a kindness that maybe I don't feel like I deserved. So I think that sometimes is a barrier too, but man, it's a powerful thing when you can share that with somebody else, and I mean, you get so much out of it too. It's like I keep feeling like it's just all for me, and it's like I don't want to be selfish about it, but I know I sure benefit from it. So.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, this is really interesting. It's making me think of something that we talk about, in fact, that I talked about in one of my communication classes yesterday, which is this idea of communication climates, and which are the emotional tone of relationships, how we feel in relationships with others. And that is usually based on how valued we feel in the relationship. And it tends to be a spiral. So if one person makes us feel valued in a relationship, we tend to make them feel valued back. We call them confirming messages. If I give you a confirming message and make you feel valued, typically you're going to respond with a confirming message. Now, sometimes you won't. Sometimes something's up and we have to deal with that. But oftentimes in relationships, you have this emotional tone in your relationships where you either are sending confirming or disconfirming messages that do not share value back and forth with people. And so I'm thinking about the value of these thank you cards in terms of your relationships, in terms of confirming to somebody else their value to you. Even if it's just a little thank you card, which can be a big thing to people or sometimes a little thing. But it's a real confirming message that you value them. And as I'm speaking about this in my classes, I'm saying, the value that this does in the world, even just to recognize somebody and say hello to them on the street or say hello to them at the store, confirming that you see value in them can work wonders in your life.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially like in Alaska, it's a huge state, but a small population.
Yeah.
So if we're nice to people at the store, you never know when those people are going to be on your hiring committee
Oh
for your
yeah.
job or
Yeah.
whatever it is. So, I mean, that sounds sort of self-serving as well, but I think that idea of saying thank you, of
Yeah.
being grateful, of demonstrating that to somebody else really shows value in the other person.
Hmm.
And ultimately, not only does that make the other person feel valued and feel good, but it also comes back of value to you
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. It's a pretty great way to self-medicate. It's
Yeah.
a really healthy way to self-medicate. Like, right? It's a
Yeah.
good way to sort of get an endorphin high, of having done something like that. I think it's good. It's healthy for us, even physiologically, even though it's just saying some words.
I think it
Um,
is too. Yeah. Totally.
so I've enjoyed this a great deal.
Can I show you two other
Yeah,
things
absolutely. Yeah, go.
today?
You got props, man.
To share. This was something in terms of thinking about gratitude, in terms of being gratitude. This
Hmm.
is a book called, oops, can you
Hmm.
see it?
Yeah,
A
I can see it. A
Grateful Heart.
Grateful Heart. Yeah.
Yeah, this is another thing I keep by my bed, and it is just these little poems and sayings, and it says, I think it says daily blessings. Oh, daily blessings for the evening meal. Well, I don't use it at my meals, but I could.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use it before I go to bed, and this is something else that I read from that just sort of helps me stay stay in a place of
Yeah.
gratitude.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to just share in terms of thank you notes. I was thinking about another one that means a lot to me. And this is something that my friend Andrea made for me and sent me in the mail recently. And
And she made that. That's
she
not
made it.
something she
This is
bought. She
her
made that.
handwriting. And
That's
I
rad.
keep this. I would show you. I keep it like on a little hanger right by my desk
Hmm.
because it makes such a difference, and I keep it up to look at it. And so I think we just shouldn't underestimate how
Yeah.
much these things make a difference to people. I mean,
Yeah.
she took however long out of her life to make that for me, and it not only says something about gratitude to me, but it also is something that I'm keeping up and gives me energy to share gratitude with others.
Yeah.
So
Well,
there's a little
that's
prop.
such a great proof of sometimes we think it's a small thing. I'm going to
Yeah.
send a thank you card. It's not a big deal. But you get one and it's like, wow. It makes you feel good. It makes you really, I mean, like you talked about that value proposition. It makes you feel valued and that you just want to then share that with somebody else.
Yeah,
So,
share it forward, give
yeah.
it forward,
Yeah.
that.
You got something you're thankful for? Can you
Oh my.
share something? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Well, no, you can. I mean, yeah, you could get me going for a while, but in in this moment, I'm
Mhm.
really thankful for this conversation
Yeah.
because I've been in some other headspace, thinking about some other things
Yeah.
this morning, and so just having some time to center in and think
Yeah.
about gratitude, I'm really thankful for. So, thank you for
Yeah.
suggesting this opportunity. How about you? What's something you're
Well,
grateful?
this sounds like just a love fest here, but I'm thankful for you taking the time to do this. I'm thankful for a bunch of changes in my life recently that have sort of led me to this place. But I really appreciate being sort of reconnected with you and recognizing some of our shared interests and our opposing is not the right word, but complementary strengths.
I love it.
I think that
Complimentary,
there are a
yes.
lot of cool things about you that don't exist in me, and I would like to be able to share the things in me that maybe can be of assistance to you. So I'm thankful for being able to sort of explore that relationship and how we can benefit each other. Um, where can people get a hold of you if they're interested in knowing more about you?
Oh, yeah, they can go to soulandheart.com.
And that's
SOL,
SOL.
I
Yeah.
should say, SOLANDHEART.com,
Hmm.
or on Facebook at Soul and Heart Coaching. I don't
Confirming
know if it's Soul and
that.
Heart Coaching or Soul and Heart, but either way, Facebook Soul and Heart.
Okay, and I can add a little, we'll add a little blurb at the bottom of the screen and
That's
make sure that we've
great.
got that right.
How
So,
do people find you, Geoff?
and you can find me at thistinyempire.com, and you can email me at jeff@thistinyempire.com,
Mm.
GEOFF. A little different. So we both have little unique naming things.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, it has been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank
All
you.
right, you're welcome. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.